So the next session is inculcating entrepreneurship skills within the team. So this is an interview session. Srinivas Kopparapu will be doing an interview with a team who are pioneers in entrepreneurship, in software industry, and in Hyderabad. Isn't it exciting? Let us see what is this interview session. And I would request Srinivas Kopparapu to please come on the stage.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. May I have the privilege of inviting Mr. Shakti Sagar, the CEO of ADP India, onto the dais first, please. ADP Private Limited is an 8,000 plus strong workforce, and Shakti Sagar is one of those 5 who have been instrumental in setting up as a pioneer software development industry in Hyderabad. It's a privilege, Shakti sir, to have you over here. Of course, as you can see there, he is CEO Game Changer. Yeah, already the bell has rung, I have spoken the truth. There is a saying in my mother tongue that if you speak the truth, the bell rings. So this is a virtual bell. This is an electronic bell. I have spoken the truth and it has rung. So this is because about taking care of the human resource, understanding who the people are and appreciating them and demonstrating true leadership capabilities. I have had the privilege of working with Shakti Sagar while I was at ADP, and let me tell you, every word that's written there belittles itself when it applies to Shakti, in my humble opinion. So it's my privilege to be conducting an interview of you, sir. Sure. On that note, let me take the privilege to invite the senior most of the lot in that sense. He is affectionately called Tiger. Don't, expect him to roar at you like a tiger. He is the most soft-spoken person on the face of the earth, because I've had the privilege of directly working with Mr. Tyagarajan Arunachalam. Please, sir. While they have been pioneer entrepreneurs, he has been the one with the dream, the vision, and everything, and collectively encouraged everybody to continue. With 30+ years of experience, having held roles of being a director of ADP, etc., and having set up 5 different companies, he decided to take a break from all this, not to relax or retire. He said, I'm not tired, I'll serve the community. And therefore, he has set up and he has been an honorary member of board of director, and he is conducting Seva Medas all over Hyderabad and giving counseling to people. It's one thing to be an entrepreneur, it's one thing to be a visionary, it's another thing to detach oneself completely and be able to do it. Tyagarajan sir, it's my pleasure to have you on board. Well, what should I say? You are a stalwart in your field when I'm talking about Ganeshan here, but you don't showcase it. If you talk about simplicity, without duplicity, and being very, very, very down to earth, and not worrying about, and also unwilling to give one's own profile. I had to literally beg Ganeshan until yesterday saying that, please, I need your profile. I had scribbled it and sent to him, but he doesn't want to review it. That's, ladies and gentlemen, with 30+ years of experience and a lot of infrastructure background and handling the entire ADP infra, Pune and Hyderabad, and has been pioneer in setting up industry and everything, but still very simple and down to earth. That's Ganeshan Chellakanu. Welcome, sir. It's my privilege. There were actually 5. So obviously the question is, why only 3? There is no favoritism. VLK, the other person who is currently the managing director of Broadridge, he's on a business trip. Okay? He promised me I'm going to be there, and then one day walked up to my cabin and said, Srinivas, I'm really sorry for ditching you. Just to let you know what sort of mood they have got. he could have called me into his cabin and said, because I report into somebody who reports into him. He could have just called, picked up the phone and said, Srinivas, come over to my cabin. You know, I need to talk to you. Instead, he walked up to my cabin and said, Srinivas, I'm sorry for ditching you. That's VLK, or Lakshmikant Venkatraman. He couldn't make it. He said, I'm very, very sorry. And definitely, as we go along, he has shared some ideas. We'll be discussing them too along the way. The fifth person, unfortunately, is late, Mr. Balaji Bodapati. He is no more here, and he has been instrumental in tying them with ethical values. And what those ethical values are, also, we will cover as we go along today. On that note, we'll start the session in a few minutes. Thank you. So the session is primarily, it's about discussing entrepreneurship, how they have started with, what motivated them, and taking it on to the implementation of project management practices to accomplish their vision, and also ending with how far, you know, a budding entrepreneurs should look at entrepreneurship and how they have to approach it. That's the mode of the discussion that's going to be. That's what effectively we discussed would be effective. So it's going to be a series of sort of 6 questions is what we are planning, where we go in a sort of a round table here. And in between, if people do have questions, please kindly send them on the app, the mobile app. The questions will be on the app, and finally the questions would be answered at the end in the last 5 minutes. If there are no questions on the mobile app, I'm giving you already the caveat. Srinivas won't keep quiet, he'll chew the 5 minutes. You don't want to hear Srinivas? Better send questions on the mobile app. Thank you. So, thank you very much for joining this interview. On the first questions that we want to start with, when you all started off in that period of 1980s, mid to late 1980s sort of a period, it was more different focus. Software industry wasn't a great focus. Obviously, something must have triggered you to think we have to move in that direction. What were the circumstances, or what was the trigger in you all thinking that you should move this way?
Just first and foremost, I'd like to thank you and your team in PMI for inviting all of us together to share our experiences. I think we're all very appreciative. In our career so far of over 30 years in this industry, PMI and yourself have been the first ones to get all of us together at one single platform. Really, thank you for that. Absolutely. It's great. The way we really looked at it, if you look at it in 1984, and I think we actually would like to thank the banking industry, because around the 83, 84, you recollect the banks were looking at computerization, and they had this whole ALPM, Advanced Ledger Posting Machine, Automatic Ledger Posting Machine, and we had to write programs for that. Incidentally, of the 5 of us, 2, Tiger and VLK, are hardcore programmers. And they started writing those programs because while we were delivering the hardware, it was important to also write those programs. And that was the bug. We talk about software bugs, I think that was the bug which actually got it. And then we realized that this has a tremendous potential. And going forward, that's what's going to make a bigger impact to organizations from a software perspective. So it was the germination of that ALPMs, where we were writing small programs, which actually triggered that. And that's when we branched out from the organization that we were associated with and started our own little organization. And as young people, as young entrepreneurs, the whole stuff was, hey, why can't we make independent products, software products, and sell in the marketplace, the ERP stuff and things like that. And we said a place where software is always required, and we figured out the retail market. We actually made a product called Midas, saying, hey, he has a golden touch for your business. And we all know the grass is greener on the other side. With a lot of enthusiasm, we stepped out. Tiger and VLK were the ones who said, yeah, we should do this. And that's how we started our journey. We started a journey in '86, we developed some software, trying to sell, realized how difficult it is, trying to actually make a sale. It looks very easy, but it was truly difficult. At the same time, we had to make sure we got a working capital to ensure fires at home burn. Otherwise, you have other problems to deal with. And we then did all sorts of jobs, right from data entry to at least have some cash flow flowing in while we are selling these products. In 1987, we were fortunate to get a consultancy contract with an American company, which we now today call it as GIC, which earlier we used to use the word captives. And therefore, when they approached us saying, hey, we would like to set up a development center here in India, would you be interested in setting it up from ground zero? All 5 of us talked about it. You know, it's how difficult it is when you start to look at trying to deal with American organizations. And we come from a middle-class family. We had always been with Indian companies. But then that spirit and the fire in our belly said, let's take the dive. We took the contract, and that's how the journey, because we believed the city of Hyderabad had all the potential to be the ID hub in the future. And I don't have to say further on that. We all know what Hyderabad today is. Does that answer? By the way, how come you're trying to test us without giving us a question paper? Srinivas, that's not fair. Because all through our lives, we've always got, and today we talk about in advance notice.
In PMI circles, we take PMP certification, which is a test, to test really whether we are qualified to be a project manager. Similarly, to become entrepreneurs, we need to question the entrepreneurship.
So are you saying at the end of this, you'll give us a certificate? Are we saying that at the end of this, PMI will give us a certificate whether we are truly the professional entrepreneurs or not?
That round of applause tells you what you're going to get, sir.
I would like to add a little more. Actually, both myself and Shakti, we were working in Bombay. I came into Hyderabad in '82 and Shakti joined me in '83. You know, like then itself, Hyderabad, we believed has the potential, you know. We used to have a lot of discussions those days. You know, software was the in thing. Actually, I just used to describe myself as at heart a programmer. That's how I used to describe. I have erased that. Now I am saying that at heart I am a counselor. So I have given up the...
Just want to clarify, when he said initially at heart he was a programmer, it changed after he got married.
No. After I quit completely from this commercial arena, now I declare myself more as a counselor and a social worker. The whole thing was, you are at heart a programmer. So you always look for opportunities. We have done some, between me and Ganeshan, we have done some fantastic things. Little things, like of course with VLK, we did the bank pack. In fact, that was fairly a huge kind of a product for the, thanks to Rangarajan. See, Rangarajan committee just pushed in. When the whole banking industry was against computerization, they just through a back door, they brought in something called ALPM, Advanced Ledger Posting Machine. They didn't want to use the word computer. They brought in, actually, it was a software solution. The systems were all PCs, actually, IBM PCs. So we had to develop all the front-end products had to be developed. So it was quite a concerted effort. That was one part. But between me and Ganeshan, we have done some exotic things. At those days, during those days, we used to interface for Thomson Press, that is India Today. We had developed a package reading, reading floppies that come from Wipro systems, figure out the data, just pull it out, and then show it on Lotus 123. So for that, he wrote some hardware interface, some assembly routines and all that. We used to, so the whole thing was, we had a lot of excitement in software development. So this is what we wanted to do. And we knew that the company that we were working in, they were laggards in terms of really going forward. So we thought we will jump into and then we will start. That's how we jumped in. Of course, we had a lot of apprehensions and all, but we started it. And then on the way, when we came into Intergraph, our eyes opened. Actually, working with an MNC, especially a company like Intergraph, where you see some of the best brains, some of the great practices. So the whole thing changed, actually. So it just firmed up. So we are firmly on this. Actually, this is how the whole thing transformed. So I would believe, we were all, since I said, I at heart a programmer, so software was this thing. It looked very, very writing on the wall actually to me.
No, at that time it was, most of the computer companies were pushing systems to the, in the market, okay. There was a shift, as Tiger mentioned, it was writing on the wall. When it is a hardware, it's mostly capital intensive. When it is a software, you have all the resources. After all that it required is the brain power, which is plenty in Hyderabad. The kind of quality of people that we used to receive at those times was really good. So that's where it changed. I think late 80s, there was a shift.
I think that was a stage when we actually looked at the project management staff, because you were starting from ground zero, and we realized how important it is in terms of really planning the whole, setting up the operations, and what are the critical pieces. And I think that was our first initiation into project management.
Actually, it really, in terms of project management, when we did the bank pack, we had to really project manage it very tightly. Actually, it was fantastic. It was a kind of a mix of waterfall plus agile. Then itself, we didn't know the word agile, because we had to incrementally, improve the product on the go. It had to go, and it was a very small group. We didn't have any exotic, manpower and all. With whatever little we had to be delivering, and we had to keep on testing and all that. So, but once we came into Intergraph, definitely the process orientation became very, very strong. Actually, Intergraph gave us a completely different kind of an orientation to process orientation. That's when we got introduced to ISO, all that CMM, all those things, actually.
VLK did mention that, he was a bachelor and he didn't care what he was doing. Obviously, you mentioned that once Tiger got married, he ceased to be a programmer. So the two bachelors are just VLK and Tiger, or were they? Oh, Ganeshan was also a bachelor. All right. So,
since we were married, we had to balance two lives.
So those three were working quite a lot. All right. On that note, you definitely mentioned that the writing was on the wall. Now, when you mentioned project management, obviously there is some planning that was going on, but also there were other opportunities. Like Intergraph is the first opportunity. There were other opportunities that were coming. Between planning for something versus exploiting an available opportunity, what sort of experiences would you like to share?
Actually, if ever you guys have heard this earlier, sorry for the spam. Okay. Plans don't fail, people fail to plan. See, without planning, nothing works. We can all say something, even to just get here from home, I had to plan. See, it's close to 27 kilometers for me. Even for that, we have to plan. So everything we have to plan. So, did we go by the opportunity or did we go by the planning? What preceded what? I would say at sometimes it was the planning, sometimes it was the opportunity. Actually, opportunities are something that one has to keep looking for. Only when there is an opportunity, you plan for it. Having said that, having got into Intergraph, we had to deliver. The kind of challenges in Intergraph, the kind of variety of products actually. On the mechanical engineering side, civil engineering side, and many of the plant design system, as also on the electronic side, it was a variety of stuff. So we had to adopt different kinds of, when it came to electronics kind of products, the kind of planning and execution was completely different. Whereas in the case of mechanical products, especially the product development, it was typical waterfall. The kind of things were very, very different. So we had to adopt all the time. So opportunities, though it may be looking like with the same company, we were getting opportunities aplenty actually. And we were all the time challenged in terms of learning newer and newer ways and then honing our own planning skills, project management skills. Otherwise, one couldn't have been successful. I mean, sorry for claiming to be successful.
No, that's fine. Over to Ganesh.
Yeah, I guess Tiger talked about opportunities within Intergraph. 9 years later, you got another opportunity. And I think one of the reasons that when we brainstormed was fine, we've talked about our whole planning process and things like that. It's very different when you talk about a planning process once things are stabilized. And I think one of the factors that helped us to say, do we take this opportunity, was to test to ourselves whether the core was still intact or this was just one of those. So there was another organization, an American organization, which was looking to set up a center in India. And through a very different channel, sent us a feeler saying, hey, we are looking to set up a center, a development center in India. Would you be interested? We debated, and as I said, there was one of these factors. That, yeah, we've stabilized, we've got this going, we've got processes planned, blah, blah. Can we do it all over again to see whether we've got the code and everything in that side? So we started talking to them. Midway through our conversation, we realized that they were actually looking to set up in Bangalore. And as I said earlier, our gut said Hyderabad had the potential to be the RD hub. So we then stepped back and told that organization, if it's Bangalore, sorry, we're not going to move. Because we still believe Hyderabad is. And this is in 1996. 95, okay. I don't know what they saw in these five stooges, or maybe we presented and talked about and convinced them. They changed and said, okay, we will change our application, because in those days, if you wanted to set up a 100% subsidiary, you had to get a Foreign Investment Promotion Board approval, and they had already begun the process. They changed it and set the center here in Hyderabad. The company is D. Shaw. So again, an opportunity. It helped us again how to utilize and how to improve on what we've been doing for 9 years with Intergraph on a project management, things like that. It did throw up different dimensions. And a combination of those was really the primary reason why we moved on to the opportunity. But if you just look at an opportunity and don't have the other aspects, the chances are that you will fail.
Would you like to add, Ganesh?
I think whatever he said is
Sure. On that note, you did mention that project management is required when opportunity. But obviously, each organization that you have picked up, like Intergraph for 9 years, then D.E. Shaw, then you moved on to Wilco, that became ADP Wilco, ADP, it's going on. So growth has been happening. Obviously, the theme of the conference is project management for sustainable growth. So moving on to that, how much was project management instrumental in sustaining this growth?
I think the project management is the core aspect, I would say. Like Tiger used to have a board on his table, as he mentioned, right? Plans never fail. People fail to plan. That's, I think that's what is the running theme, I would say. It is the people who have to constantly plan.
Actually, I know, it's an interesting thing. When when you start a new venture, it requires a whole range of planning. You know, you are starting with a clean slate. The kind of planning that we require, the kind of project management required, because unless you have a kind of a project management plan, you cannot take anything off the ground. And somebody is coming here to set up a center with so much of investment and so much of hope, and those who have decided to move their idea from Bangalore to Hyderabad, the kind of, sorry, I just forgot to switch it off. Sorry to hold you back. See, actually, the kind of discussions we had before DE decided to, I switched off. The kind of discussions we had with DE, we had series of discussions. The kind of plans they had were so much. So, to take things off the ground, it's a whole range of things, right from deciding a facility, deciding, the recruitment plan, the initial set of projects to start with. What do we do? Where all you go for this one? What kind of training plan you have? So it's a whole range of things. Actually, I don't think we could have survived without that project management as the background. I don't think I think that's like breathing. I don't think it was any, we had any choice about it.
You didn't mention about the Gantt chart. The Gantt chart, your favorite.
Actually, I used to have every time, whenever a new big idea starts, I used to have a PERT chart. Typically I am one of those who got, who went to learn, PERT CPM and all in 77. So, first thing I would do is to put a PERT chart. Okay. Actually, more or less, the PERT chart would, the start date, the middle points, and the end date would be, somehow it will all be falling. But were we really following that? Because each of those subsegments will all be taken into its own PERTs, like, actually without those kind of things, as a kind of sentiment, first thing I would do is like Ganeshaya Namaha, I would write a PERT chart and I will have it on my board. This used to be my practice. Even today I continue that.
I think having said that, I want to add one more point here. Tiger, earlier when any new project starts, we never used to report as a status reporting, never used to be there. But Tiger would insist on weekly report. Whether the client asked for it or not, he would insist on every week what is happening. That raised the awareness within the team, and it gave a structure for others to see what is going on. So I think it's a very important piece of information, piece of tool, I thought. So having joined the company fresh from the college, we used to think, why is he insisting on asking for the report, every week? He knows and everybody knows. But having that framework, it really helps the project.
I definitely remember being a pain, absolutely a pain. Because by such and such time, if the report doesn't come, see what I used to do is, every week before I close for the weekend, I will have to send a consolidated update to my customers, whether they look at it or not. The very fact, I remember one, Mr. Bill McClure, he told me, Tiger, see, many a time I don't look into your report. The very fact that your mail has come gives me the confidence things are fine. It used to be, I was hurt anyway that he doesn't read the report. But I remember being a pain to, if ever some of my managers are still there in the audience, I'm sorry guys, I've been a pain. I do agree.
The only thing I'd like to add, when we talk of PMI, when we talk of project management and planning, you've got to really be able to, you may have the basic 101 of that as a structure, but you be able to modify based on which is a, sustainable, going on a smooth scale versus something that comes new. And it must be a dynamic plan and not written and carved in stone. The flexibility is a key thing. Otherwise, very often we get caught and say, oh, this is the way. So a framework is great, but it's got to be flexible and adaptable to the situation because it's a very dynamic situation and be able to change that.
See, one other challenge we used to have is this you all know. I mean, every single project is fresh from every single point of view. I mean, every single project is afresh, and we don't have a choice than to give some estimate. Yeah, I will be able to complete it by XYZ time. If ever we don't give, your customer is not going to be happy at all. So you have got to give some estimate. So how do we give estimate if ever you don't have that kind of detailed kind of analysis and then put your brain into it and then give a time. And then having given a time, we must live up to it. So I think we have just lived with PMI. I mean, project management.
Yeah, Tiger,
only.
I think we're running a little over time. So if you don't do that, they'll say you talked all this, but you haven't managed your time.
Yeah, thank you.
Sure. On that note, VLK had a few things to add from his side, saying that
The good things, the bad things, the bad thing, or he's talking about?
it's generally okay things. Yeah. He was primarily saying that you had no fear in doing these things and using project management and setting up industry because it was all about selling trust and skills to people. So coming in terms of trust and skills, whether it is to customers or whether in terms of, even to various associates working with you, etc. When you were doing this journey and you were moving out, how were you ensuring that the previous organization wasn't getting smitten or bitten versus how were you also ensuring that those who are with you in this journey further into the newer organizations, they were comfortable with the change that was happening?
If you look at the journey we talked about, Intergraph was the first GRC. It was a leader in CAD/CAM, the human capital, the colleagues that we were looking were mainly mechanical engineers. So when the second opportunity came to us, one of the primary stuff for us was, are we going to be competing for the same human capital? Because all said and done, Intergraph was our baby. And I think no parent would like to do anything which hampers the progress of their own child. So one of the considerations why we did consider DE Shaw, because the skills requirement there was very, very different. At DE Shaw, we were looking at PhDs, computer science, and mathematicians. Because DE Shaw was, as you all probably know, is an investment bank, hedge fund, and things like that. So that was where I think we were transparent. It wasn't that when we moved, we then moved with folks from Intergraph to join us. It was just the 5 of us who moved because at the end of the day, fundamentally, until today, Intergraph, we believe is still our baby. I wouldn't do anything to hamper that child, even though today it's a 25-year-old child. Similarly, when we moved from DE Shaw, again, it wasn't a move by choice, but it was more in terms of Wilco, which is a part of ADP, acquired a very significant portion of DE Shaw, because DE Shaw ran into some issues in their exposure to a market. There again, we really looked at it from a perspective, because I think the fundamental thing is to be open and transparent. Very often, leaders make that grave mistake of seeding germination of game playing in politics. And that actually causes cancer for the organization. And it actually starts from the top. But if you're transparent and open and sharing, and in DE Shaw, when we were looking for somebody to take over the company, every 15 days, we did a town hall and updated all our colleagues to say what the status was. And I think when you're open and transparent, the confidence level and the trust is a key, and trust is very important if you want to truly be a successful organization.
Actually, I would see in terms of trust and stuff like that. See, I am a counselor now. Last 16 years I have been counseling. One of the things that I find, I keep telling also, children do not do what we say. They do what we do. They just look at us. They observe us all the time. The same way, our own colleagues, they keep on watching us. We may, talk glibly. We can say so many things and all that. But they can really, they're all smart people. They can really read through you. So the trust and confidence has to be seen by one's own behavior actually in the organization. In fact, that has been one of our biggest strengths, I would say. The kind of values that we all shared. I mean, one thing that we all decided when we started the organization, whether we do greatly or not, we will work together. Okay? Let's be together. Let's not be having any kind of politics amongst us. So this by itself set a beautiful trend across the company. There was absolutely no politics. We've been extremely fortunate on that particular, knock wood on that. We have been very fortunate and we have been extremely conscious about this. Absolutely no politics. So because of that, you don't have any worry.
Yes, VLK did mention that Balaji gets a lot of credit for that, saying that put the team ahead of one's own aspirations. That has been the motto, is what VLK mentioned. On that note, Ganeshan, would you like to add anything further?
I think when it comes to human resources, they need to be, you don't have to manage them. So that's a misnomer. Over a period of time, we learned that don't manage people, lead them. So that's where the fundamental shift is.
Sure. In terms of, you have mentioned we have done odd jobs, etc., etc. But that was early days in the 1980s. But once you started moving from Intergraph into, DE Shaw sort of the setup and everything, nowadays there is a lot of talk about, venture capitalists, etc., etc. When it came to the level of raising funds, etc., to be able to set up such sort of a brand new setup or, taking over, how did you manage moving further?
I just want to clarify that we still do odd jobs, especially at home. I think all married people, no matter what you do, you still continue to do odd jobs. So you'll never get away not doing odd jobs unless you're fortunate enough. That's a different issue. Right? I think it follows up to what you really asked. When you are open and you are able to build the trust on the venture capitalists, being open and saying, here's all the 52 cards, it's much easier. Because I think the fundamental principle is we believe everybody is smart, everybody is intelligent, and never ever felt that we are smarter than the person across the table. When you look at it and being equal, and you're open and talking about every aspect of what you see, all the risks and challenges, and what is you're bringing to the table, I think it's much easier when you talk to these venture capitalists, because that's what they're really looking at. How much of a passion do you have in your idea that you're talking about, and how much of homework have you done? Because ultimately, while you put your cash there, there's also the sweat equity. And truly from that perspective, what we've done more is the sweat equity.
I think Sweat equity, pretty much describes the whole thing. Actually, really, we sweated it out. I mean, and we are very, very happy about it. The sweat was all worth it. Actually, today, ADP being what it is, Broadridge being what it is, Disha being what it is, Integra being what it is, United Online being what it is. I mean, absolutely, it's a fantastic journey that one has been through. So the sweat has really paid off.
We used to do, everyone will do every job, okay, initially. It's not that it's your job, it's my job, no. So I will do what, like drafting letters, typing letters. Tiger would just check everything and like drawing cables, those days. Integra was very specific about how you run the cables, It looked like, are you an electrician or a wireman or why are you doing this? No, we need to do it. Nobody knows how to do that. So we used to do everything ourselves.
Sure. On that note, I have to bring you to this, supplementing and complementing each other in that respect. You are a complete infra person, right? Then we had two software gentlemen in Tiger and VLK. Then we had a pure sales professional, as he claims himself to be Shakti, right? And we had Balaji, who was more of a human sort of a touch sort of a person. So with this sort of a differing skill sets, of course, despite the thread that being there, that team over the thing, what was the common thread that sort of bound you all together, that the journey continued for so many years?
I would say the values. Our middle class upbringing and the values that are the one which has been binding us all along. As you said, our skills are complementary. Balaji used to be our core HR, and Shakti used to be the strategy plus marketing plus sales all in one. VLK and Tiger used to be the software guys. I used to be the hardware guy always, okay? So that's how it is.
Actually, on that, I remember watching, a TED talk by Ernesto Siroli. It's a wonderful talk. I would urge as many of you to see. The title of the talk is Shut Up and Listen. Ernesto Siroli. It's a beautiful talk. Actually, he talks about, there's an Italian NGO going into the, African, how they went about, setting up some things, they thought they are teaching some things to the African country and all. Without listening to the local people, they went about pumping in money and they grew tomatoes and all that. It was all growing so beautifully. And the local people were all saying, don't do it. But these guys went about doing it. The plants have grown so beautifully. At that time, one morning they come and see the entire thing has been vanished. All the rhinos came and then ate away everything. So that's when they said, we told you, you didn't listen. So that's the title of the talk. But there he says, any business or any organization, be it an NGO, be it a commercial organization, there are three things that are needed. One is, you need the product to sell. You need to have the wherewithal to make the product. That's first thing. The second thing is, you have to have the wherewithal to sell it, market it, take it to the people. That's when it's all meaningful. The third thing is finance. All three things are not in one. All three things typically are not in one. Most often we see only one face, we see only one name, but definitely there is somebody behind. Actually, that way, this has been a joint effort. We need all the five fingers are needed. It's not that, this thumb is more important, wo choti ungli nikal de dein, kabhi nahi manenge. We will never agree to one of these fingers to be taken off. All the five fingers are needed. And we have actually seen this to be happening in our journey, actually. We have been extremely blessed and fortunate on that.
I would really say we all had a common dream. And a dream or vision to do and prove that 5 different professionals when they can join together and pursue a dream and a vision together and be able to face any storm that comes without really, dismantling ourselves was the real key. It's not that we never ever debated or had fights. It wasn't that because we became great friends. You won't believe the amount of heated conversations and debates that we had, because at the end of the day, our focus was very clear that at the number one is we are professionals and we got to do what's right for the organization. And it was nothing personal. We debated, had a lot of heated conversations, and that's natural. But once we stepped out of the room, nobody would ever say what happened inside the room, because we all understood it was nothing personal, it was all that. I think that certainly helped us, and even today it's the same. Though unfortunately, the five of us are no longer a team. It wasn't that we split, but again, like VLK today is the senior leader of Broadridge, and that's why we treat Broadridge, I personally call Broadridge a daughter, because technically we are two different organizations, ADP and Broadridge. But it's like a daughter who gets married, the surname changes, but the genes don't change. And that's why, to me, Broadridge is will and always continue to be a daughter. We're just spinning off another group of ours, so I'll have another daughter. It's two daughters, which is really what I have in my real life. And I think that's what makes the difference.
Sure. Thank you. On that note, many of the people would dream to become entrepreneurs. For any budding entrepreneurs, what would be your suggestion, one each, from each of you?
No, I have a few things to say.
Sure.
Okay. Actually, train the guts. Believe your guts. Your gut is going to tell you, that's what is going to help you actually. And we had big dreams, very big dreams. One of the things I used to be just pestering Shakti, Balaji, Ganeshan and all that is, yeah, we need to have a company as strong as 10,000 people. We need to have a township for the people. We need to provide housing for the people. We need to have a hospital there. We need to have a school there. We need to have everything there. So it used to, and that township will have its own power generation, all kinds of dreams. It's not that. So did it all happen? Yeah, now I realize we don't need to have that kind of townships and all that. That the city takes care of most of the things. But the typical, the Tatas and all that, so those kind of dreams, but the 10,000 is coming to be true. Such dreams are absolutely essential. Dream big. Low aim is crime. I keep repeating, low aim is crime. So think big, dream big, and then you will be able to achieve big. That's one thing. At the same time, success will eventually come. One thing that I understood in working as a team, our egos have to be subsumed. We have to learn to subsume our egos. Our egos are not going to actually, ego comes in a very messy form. If ever we learn to subsume our egos, that's why, when we fight inside the room, the ego comes into play. We all fight. When we come out of it, we all speak the same language. Everybody would be talking the same thing because we have agreed. We have just buried the whole damn thing. See, the issue is in that, are we coming to the close? I want to tell a story. I want to tell a story. Okay, please. I will tell the story and then only leave. Okay. See, I am known for telling stories in the office. Actually, he started with Mahabharata. I want to bring in something in Ramayana. Some of you may have heard. It's attributed to Devdutt Patnaik. It's about Hanuman Ramayana. Everybody knows Valmiki Ramayana. Valmiki Ramayana is a very popular one. So everyone knows about Valmiki Ramayana. Valmiki had, Valmiki had finished the work, so he started showing to everybody. So everybody started appreciating, wow, wonderful work, wonderful work. Everybody was appreciating. So Valmiki was in cloud 9. He was just going above and all that. He went on showing to so many people. Then came Narad Muni. When Narad Muni came, he showed it to him. He also saw that, very nice, very nice. But still, it's not as good as Hanuman Ramayana. You mean Hanuman had written a Ramayana? Yeah, Hanuman has done this work. But yeah, that's something different, he said. So, dar lag gaya. Valmiki suddenly became very nervous. So he had to see it because his product has to sell. Typically because it is his product. So he just ran. He found out. So Hanuman was sitting in the Himalayas. So he goes and asks him, I believe you have written Ramayana. Yeah, I have written Ramayana. So it's lying here. All so many leaves. It's just lying by a heap. So this is where it is. So he started, yeah, read it. He started reading it, leaf by leaf, leaf by leaf. Valmiki's ears, eyes were just welling up. Tears were flowing down non-stop. Absolutely amazing piece of work. What is it? I am devastated. My Ramayana is not going to take off. That's all gone. So he was absolutely, worried. So at the end of it, so Hanuman said, don't worry, okay, your Ramayana will stay. I will just destroy this whole thing. He said he just piled up the entire amount of leaves and then he gobbled it up. So you don't worry, you just go and sell your Ramayana. So Valmiki said, thank you very much, thank you very much. And then he started leaving. Hanuman asked him, come back. See, you found my Ramayana to be better than yours? Yeah, it was wonderful. Do you know why? No. You wrote this Ramayana for your sake. I wrote Ramayana in Ram's name. You wrote Ramayana in your glory. I wrote in Ram's glory. So if ever, this is a very important message, if ever what we want to do is given the most importance, it will come out to be like Hanuman Ramayana. If we do it for our glory, it will never come out to be as very good. Thank you.
I would say two things. One is be genuinely interested in the people who work for you. Next one is put the team ahead of the individual aspirations. These are the two things I would say very, very important.
I would say for all the budding entrepreneurs, don't give up your dream. Don't compromise. The dream will not materialize immediately. Have patience, perseverance, and do your homework. Make sure you demonstrate and translate that dream into a reality. It will happen. Be realistic. Pursue that dream. Don't give it up. And you will achieve success as long as you're doing it with sincerity and dedication. That's all I like to say. All the best.
So on that note, sustainable growth is possible by project managing even the dream and the vision.
Absolutely. Everything is possible, just like what you've done to do us in making sure we finish on time.
Sure, thank you. Have there been any questions on the mobile app, please? None? That's great. Which means basically we are exactly on time and there have been no questions.
It means that they haven't always spoke very well and communicated, and everything is clear in your thoughts, which is impossible. I said enough of these guys. Could be one of them. Fair enough. Thank you very much for giving us this opportunity.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Shakti. Thank you very much, Tiger. And thank you very much, Ganesh.
May I request Mr. Girish Kadam from PMI Pune chapter to please present a memento to our interview team. Mr. Shakti Sagar. A big round of applause for Mr. Shakti Sagar. Ganeshan Selakanno. And Mr. Tyagarajan Arunachalam. Final round of applause for all of them. Thank you all. Thank you, Girish Kadam.